as we know, Joe Biden is flying in tonight into this extremely complex situation. What do you think he hopes to achieve with this visit?
Look, I think the main motivation for this visit was for Biden and the United States more broadly to show their solidarity with Israel. You know, Biden has repeatedly said that the United States' support of Israel and as they put it, Israel's right to defend itself is ironclad. So this is about that show of solidarity. But I think it's also increasingly, as we just heard, about that humanitarian nightmare that is unfolding and the United States' efforts to create a plan, at least, for humanitarian aid to get into Gaza. And so I think that'll be a huge focus of Biden's. But as we just heard, you know, this is a incredibly difficult situation for him to walk, both in the region and at home, where he is dealing with a very powerful, very vocal Jewish lobby, but also pressure from progressive Jewish organisations that are protesting at the White House calling for a ceasefire. So as we heard, this is just a nightmare scenario that is getting increasingly complicated for Biden.
A really difficult one for him, because it is that tightrope walk that you suggested there, where he pledges support and gives support to Israel with the humanitarian catastrophe that is unfolding. Do you expect him to handle it well from a political perspective?
Biden has decades of experience in foreign policy. In the US Senate, he was chair of the Foreign Relations Committee. So he is, I think, very well placed to handle not just this crisis, but multiple international crises. He is, I think, a prisoner, I suppose, of US history in some way, you know, talking about that ironclad support for Israel and the incredibly strained relations that he will now have, or he now has, with neighbouring Arab nations. You know, as we just heard, Jordan has cancelled that meeting that Biden was scheduled to have. When dialogue is limited like that, the potential for miscalculation, and I think for reinforcing perceptions in the Arab world that the United States is not that interested in humanitarian relief, at least not as a first priority, when all of those statements about the humanitarian crisis and unequivocally condemning the attacking of civilians always comes second. It always comes after a statement about solidarity with Israel.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to keep up to date with all our latest research and work, sign up to our newsletter. Delivered every fortnight, it includes behind-the-scenes updates from Richard Dennis, an exclusive cartoon from Judy Horacek, details for our upcoming events and webinars, as well as explainers, graphs, and not to mention the latest cutting-edge research and analysis from the team here on the key issues that are facing Australia. Click the button on your screen to check it out.